ain't about the color of my skin.
You need to move away from my lily white pumps.
It's about being true to the game of basketball.
It's unnecessary to have all this razzle-dazzle on our courts, and that's what the Negro players will do.
But every time we step on this court, it means something.
Everett, good morning. Jeff in Las Vegas.
Jeffrey, good morning. I love the background, man. I love to see
Man,
it.
I had to do you up right, man. I had to do it right for you this morning. So
Yeah.
thank you for joining me to talk about Sweetwater, man. You made me cry. You made me angry. You made me cheer. I mean, this is just fantastic job, man. Congratulations.
That means a lot, man. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, tell us about the man who changed the game.
Right? This is like a heavy thing to say, but it's true, which is crazy. I mean, Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton was the first African-American to sign an NBA contract, which is huge for culture, which is huge for world sports, right? So that's one side. But the other true side is he represented something beyond a skin tone, right? He represented something universal, the way the game was played. So when he entered into the league, it was way more rigid and boxed in, right? But he brought creativity, style, flair, innovation, finger roll, alley-oops. He brought a beautiful, innovative game that all humans desire to have, that creativity to tap into. He brought that to the NBA. And you see a lot of players that we love today doing things we've never seen before. That started from that one seed of creativity being allowed to showcase themselves in the NBA. And that was Nathaniel Sweetwater Clifton. And it's just a beautiful story, beautiful time to tell it. We never heard about it, right? It's just been on the ground, cooking in the crock pot, however you want to call it. So it's beautiful that not only the basketball community gets to get this true story, but worldly, we get to absorb this true story about a beautiful man's journey.
You know, one of my greatest childhood memories, I'm Generation X, was the Harlem Globetrotters. I mean, I was obsessed. These guys were my heroes. Goose, Curly Joe. I mean, they had their own cartoon. They were even on Scooby-Doo. And every time I hear Sweet Georgia Brown, it takes me right back to those games and my childhood. And I can't believe that's where Sweetwater began, was the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, it's very beautiful to think, right? I mean, well, truthfully, even before he did a stint with the Harlem Wrens, and then prior to World War II, he was a killer in high school. So he's had a long journey, but the Harlem Globetrotters really sourced a lot of the things you're talking about. And what's beautiful about that is a lot of people don't realize Harlem Globetrotters was basketball. It was entertainment, the game we love, packing out the arenas. I mean, literally, the NBA back then wasn't well known, but the Harlem Globetrotters were. So the Harlem Globetrotters would play their first game, pack the arena out, and then the NBA would sneak in right after to try to play their games, right? To try to keep those fans. So the Harlem Globetrotters really brought so much to the game of basketball, and I think Sweetwater did a beautiful job of absorbing that fun world, that circus world of just freedom and playing, and transitioning that to the NBA. But a lot of those guys can really play basketball, man.
Absolutely. You know, looking back with our eyes of 2023, this wasn't too long ago in our history. It's hard to think how different things were back then with the prejudice and how far we've come. Were you aware of this during filming? I mean, being someone from the 21st century, but portraying, like, it's hard to believe that people had those kind of attitudes back then.
Yes, it's very hard to believe. I mean, I would say even today, you see remnants of this attitude because we're not that far removed that we want to act like, right? But it was definitely a different time. So, I mean, living in that world was a different experience. So I kind of wasn't experiencing it from Everett. I was kind of just in it as, Sweetwater, the character, and just going through that whole journey, which was wild to think that someone could endure such racial tension and discrimination, but still walk through life so gracefully and still think about the other and have a heart to serve and care about his teammates, care about the greater good of humanity. I mean, he fought in war, right? So he fought for justice for all people. And he carried that over even when his time serving was complete. He carried that servant's heart. So, I mean, it's just beautiful to see how during that time you can still keep that type of spirit. And that's what Sweetwater had.
And as an African-American actor, this role has such meaning and significance. You realize as an actor, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime role for you. I mean, these don't come along very often for actors, right? That have such significance.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, African-American for sure. But I think just as an actor overall, I mean, because I just, as an actor overall, whenever you get a role that you can dive into and tell, I mean, we're always looking for the truth, right? So whenever I get a true human story, as any actor across the world, I mean, this is what we live for. And then it's something I actually care about, like basketball and the game. I mean, it's just a beautiful experience. I thank God about it. I mean, there's no way I could plan it. You can't plan certain things like this. You really can't.
And how hard did you train for the basketball scenes? I mean, it looked like a grueling schedule. I mean, because in movies, you do it over and over and over, right?
I mean, I just went through it at Sweetwater. You got to think he was on the bus, sleeping in buses, barely, not really getting the best meals, and having to play in Chucks, Converse, dunking, doing dribbles. I mean, doing the whole thing. So that's what we did. I didn't question it. I mean, I have a great team. Martine Gigi, which is the director, and the writer, has been working on the script for 28 years, man. So I was well supported as far as facts. And then also surrounded by a great cast. We got Richard Dreyfuss, Carrie Elwes, Jeremy Piven, Kevin Pollak, and all these guys brought their best. So the environment was a lot of love and it was a lot of grace. It didn't feel so much as like grunt work, but every day was a new experience and it was so much magic being made. Man, what you see is real. Every shot was real. There was no doubles, every dunk. So it's going to be a beautiful thing to share with people.
Everett, one of my favorite movies of the year, man. Congratulations. And thank you so much for joining me today. And let's talk again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Really appreciate that, man. Have a great one.